Hi, I'm Old Norse Specialist Dr. Jackson Crawford, and today I am continuing for you the tale of Egill Skalla-Grímsson. Now, when we left off in our previous installment, Egill's brother Thorolfr had died in England in the service of King Athelstan. Now, from here, having been rewarded by Athelstan with some treasures, including two treasure chests full of silver that will be Egill's constant companions from here on out, Egill goes back to Norway. And here he finds that his old friend Arnbjorn has inherited the property and title of his father Thorir, who was the Jarl who was friend of Skallagrímr, Egill's father before him, and then of Egill himself. Now, Egill also, of course, brings back the bad news of Thorolfr's death to Thorolfr's widow, Osgerðr. And over these succeeding months that Egill is staying there with Arnbjorn, he seems to be kind of pining. He seems sad and upset, and, well, who can stand to be to see a frowning face on a misanthrope like Egill? So Arnbjorn asks him what's wrong. Egill says that it's a woman he's pining for, and when Arnbjorn asks him who, Egill responds with this interesting skaldic poem. Again, as before, my pronunciation of Old Norse reflects reconstructed medieval Old Norse, not modern Icelandic, and the translations in this video are mine. O kunni vensk ennis ungar thordak vel forðum, hauka klífs at hefja, hlín þvergnipur mínar, verk I fell thos foldar faldr kumur I hug skaldi, berg oneris bruna brot miðstalli hvota. That lady, goddess of the hot cliff, is accustomed to my bad habits. When I was young, I would dare to lift the eyebrows up my forehead. Now I have to hide my nose in my cloak whenever I think of her. She is the hill giant's land's headdress. And hidden in that last remark is the name of the woman. The land of the hill giant is the hill, Old Norse os, and a headdress is a gerðr, so it is Osgerðr, his brother's widow, that he is pining for. Arnbjorn actually seems to think that Egill getting together with his brother's widow would not be such a bad idea, and Osgerðr is amenable as well, and so with Arnbjorn's blessing, Egill is married to his brother's widow, Osgerðr. And now spring arrives, and Egill remembers that the king of Norway hates him, and so he returns to Iceland. There in Iceland, Egill and Skallagrímr fight over money. Naturally, Skallagrímr complains that Egill has never given him the chests of silver that Athelstan meant to pay Skallagrímr for the loss of his son Thorolfr. But Egill refuses to pay them over. So one day when Egill is gone, Skallagrímr rides into a swamp and buries his own chest of silver. He dies that night. Egill is worried now that his father is going to come back as an afturgange, the Norse equivalent of a zombie, because one of the major warning signs is dying disappointed in your son. So Egill takes precautions. He breaks down a wall in the house and drags Skallagrímr out backwards by his head and shoulders. This is related to the belief that an afturgange can't go through a door that he hasn't been admitted through after death. So by breaking out the wall, of course, they're going to rebuild the wall. Skallagrímr's not going to be able to get back in if he comes back as an afturgange. Then Egill buries Skallagrímr in a mound with his horse and some weapons and tools. And now for the rest of the saga, those of you who tune in to Saga TV, mostly for the inheritance disputes, I just want you to know that it's time to celebrate because your ship has come in. This gets a little painful to start. Do you remember that Egill's wife, Osgerðr, formerly the wife of his brother Thorolfr, that she was the daughter of Bjorn and his wife Thora, who was the sister of Thorir, Arnbjorn's father. And that initially Bjorn's marriage to Thora had been resisted by the family. Well, now Bjorn and Thora, Osgerðr's parents, had gone back to Norway and they'd never come back to Iceland. Thora had died, and Bjorn had remarried and had a daughter with his second wife. And then that daughter had married a man named Berg Onundr. Now Bjorn, the father, has died, and Berg Onundr, with his wife, have claimed the entire inheritance from Bjorn and Thora. And he's a friend of the king and queen, so this looks likely to be accepted by them. But of course, Egill thinks that Osgerðr, as the other living child of Bjorn and Thora, would be entitled to half of this inheritance well, and thus Egill would be as her husband. But when Egill goes to Berg Onundr in Norway to confront him about this, Berg Onundr says that since Osgerðr's mother was abducted by their dad, that she was conceived without the consent of her family, so she does not deserve to inherit as an illegitimate child. So Egill sues him. They go to court, but at the thing, the Norse law court / festival in Norway, Queen Gunhildr, who still hates Egill, has some of her thugs break up the court and chase Egill out. Egill has to flee on ship and finally has to bail out overboard with only his two treasure chests. Just imagine him jumping overboard with these two huge things. And has to swim off to an island to escape. Very humiliating, and of course, a dereliction of law. Well, Egill goes to Arnbjorn and complains about what's happened, and Arnbjorn, of course, encourages him to get out of Norway. Arnbjorn gives him a new ship, and Egill pretends to leave, but as he gets out of sight of land, he starts heading back toward Norway. He has a sinister plan to complete before he leaves. So he goes to a farm on an island where King Erik Bloodaxe and his wife Queen Gunhildr, their 10 or 11-year-old son Rognvald, is guarded. And one of the guards is this Berg Onundr who has denied Egill and Osgerðr part of the inheritance. Egill goes up on the island and he finds some boys. This is nighttime. He finds some boys standing around with big dogs. And he asks them why. Why are you standing around with a bunch of big dogs? And they say, well, hey, mister, haven't you heard about the bear? There's a big bear on the island terrorizing the livestock. We're here on the lookout for the bear. And Egill says, oh, yeah, that's why I'm out too. I'm scared of the bear too. That's why I'm out looking for it. And then Egill goes into some bushes and makes some bear noises. Something that on a semi-famous occasion of my own life I struggled not to make. That's a story for a different time. And the boys go and they tell the men who are drinking in the hall that they've heard the bear in the bushes. So the men run out to investigate, and it is Berg Onundr who finds Egill out in the bushes. So Berg Onundr and Egill charge each other. They throw their spears. Berg Onundr's glances off Egill's shield, but Egill's spear goes through Berg Onundr's shield, and Berg Onundr has to drop it. At this point, Berg Onundr starts to draw a sword, but Egill's already got his tied around his wrist, so he just whips it into his hand, and he cuts down Berg Onundr, cuts his head off. Then he goes back to his ship, gathers up 11 men, and tells them they need to kill everyone at this farm. So they storm the farmhouse, kill 16 men, take everything they can, and burn the rest, including killing all the livestock. Then they hop back in their boat to head back out. But as they're leaving, little Prince Rognvald, this 10 or 11-year-old Dranger, follows him in his own boat with 12 men. This 10 or 11-year-old kid, you have to admire the gumption. He's going to go take care of this guy who robbed and killed his people. And Egill decides to ram little Prince Rognvald's boat and board it with his men, and they kill everyone, including little Prince Rognvald. And Egill actually brags about this in a skaldic poem. This is in chapter 58. Borðum hver nevirðak, vígleiftur sonar heftir, blóðuxar ræðk blóði, boðmildur og Gunnhildar, þar fellu nú þólar 13 lagar móna, stendraf styrjar skundi starf og einum karfa. We fought. I don't care. I reddened my sword in the blood of the son of Bloodaxe and Gunhild. 13 men fell there on one ship alone. Plenty of war's work is coming fast, and he's right about that. But he's not done. Before he goes back to Iceland, he sets up a slander pole, or nidstone. This is still chapter 58. Let me give you my translation of this whole paragraph or so directly from the saga because it's quite interesting. Egill took a hazel pole in his hand and went out on a rocky peninsula that pointed in at the land. Then he took a horse's head and put it up on the pole. Then he delivered a curse, saying this: "Here I set up a slander pole, Nithstone, and I turned this slander on King Eiríkr and Queen Gunnhildr." And then he turned the horse head toward land. "And I turned this slander on the land spirits, Landvættir, who inhabit this land, so that all of them will get lost on their way, so they won't find their homes by accident or on purpose before they drive King Eiríkr and Gunnhildr out of the land." Then he drove the pole down into a fissure in the rock and let it stand there. He also turned the horse head in toward the land, then he carved runes on the pole. The runes contained this whole curse. So Nith is a very bad slander, often of a sexual nature, and so the Nithstone is a pole containing such a slander, although in this case this isn't so much slander as a curse. He is cursing the land spirits, Landvættir, apparently minor supernatural beings associated with a place, in this case Norway and its shores. He is scaring them with this horse head and with this curse, cursing these spirits not to be able to find their homes before they've kicked the king and the queen out of the land. Truly, Egill is a monstrous opponent of the Norwegian royal family. Not only is he willing to kill their people, he's willing to kill their kid, and now he's even enlisting supernatural support against them. Well, we'll see just how that goes in the next installment of Egill's Saga. For now, I hope that if you've enjoyed this, you'll check out one of my more than 270 other videos on this channel about everything you can think of in Norse myth, language, and sagas. And I hope you'll check out my translations, such as my translation of the Poetic Edda, now available in audiobook format, read by me, and my translation of the Saga of the Volsungs. And I hope you'll check out my Patreon. My Patreon supporters are the ones who make it possible for me to come to beautiful places and make these videos for free. For now, from beautiful Colorado, I'm wishing you all the best.